Welcome back to another episode of the Unleash Your Radiance podcast. I am joined by such an incredible guest today, which I'm so excited to share with you. I am joined by Alexandria Maria, who is a powerhouse business and manifestation queen. She has been featured in some major media outlets, including the BBC World Service, The Telegraph, the Daily Mail, and Forbes. Her expertise in guiding individuals to achieve wealth, freedom, happiness, and success, all while doing things their own way, has captured the imagination of countless entrepreneurs and aspiring business owners. Alexandria truly supports you as a high-level leader and trailblazer to step into your limitless potential. Together, she works with her clients to raise their standards and alchemize business results that just defy logic. Alex, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I adore you. So I'm so grateful I get this time with you.
I adore you as well. For those of you who don't maybe know, Alex and I have worked together. She has been my coach and mentor for the past little while as well. I have also done my manifestation certification with the Crystal Codes through Alex's academy as well. So yeah, we've been acquainted for quite some time, and she's been such a monumental, just incredible person to have been in my life. And it's just it's been amazing knowing you. So thank you for being here.
The feeling is very mutual, babes. The feeling is very, very mutual.
Amazing. Alex, I always love to ask everyone who comes onto the podcast one question, and that is, what does radiant living mean to you?
I adore this question. So, to me, it really means curating a life that looks as good on the outside as it feels on the inside.
Mm.
So really bringing those two elements together, because I think for me personally, the automatic thought with radiance can be something very external. And I think we get to embrace that external glow, that almost, I always had this image, this gold shimmer that like coats our life and the things that we do and really tapping into the beauty of it. But I think we get to match that with the internal radiance and feeling really, can I swear? I always forget to ask.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, well, feeling really fucking good on the inside
Yeah.
and really lit up, really in alignment with your purpose, just feeling that creative life force really flowing within you as well.
Oh, I love that so much. And I so resonate with that because that is a huge part about what I preach as well. And what I teach with my clients is like radiance is like creating from within. Because if we're not feeling good on the inside, our external world is not going to be a reflection of that, right? We need to first feel good, feel joy, feel overflow, and so lit up in order to be able to create and manifest that life that we truly love so much. So I really love that you said that as well. Amazing. So Alex, I know you have been in the works around talking about something exciting that's coming out, and the theme I've been seeing with you lately is upgrade season. And I know from
Mhm.
sessions we've been in, I was in Alex's mastermind recently, expansion, and I've been hearing this word a lot, upgrade. So let's dive into that a little bit. What is upgrade season?
Upgrade season it's for the women that know, like, no matter how good it is already, it can get fucking better.
Mm.
And it's all about making these small shifts to create huge changes within your life. And I've been through my own process in the last 18 months. I became a mum. I had an incredibly traumatic pregnancy, calling it what it was. And really going through that process, I came out the other side of it being like, okay, I'm starting to feel good again and I'm ready for things to change, but I don't want to go. I want to do this in a way that feels fun. I think often personal development and working through things, it can feel quite heavy, it can feel quite serious. And I really felt more ready than ever to bring these different parts of myself together. This part of me who is fun and playful and likes to have a laugh and not take things too seriously, and this part of me that is deep and really wants to make sure I live the shit out of this life and create the most expanded, incredible vision, and not just have the vision, but live and breathe it and embody it. So upgrade season is all about bringing that to life and supporting other women to do that in a way that feels fun, in a way that feels manageable, in a way that feels playful, so that they can upgrade their own life or business in all the different areas in a way that's, approachable and fun.
I love that. And that's so true because personal development can feel heavy. It's kind of like we need to go through all this healing and come out on the other side, where I think it turns a lot of people off, or it's like scary for some people because they're like, well, like I don't want to face all those, where it does have that aspect, but it's like, how can we bring more fun and enjoyment into it? Because It is essentially that, right? We're going through this healing journey in order to upgrade our lives and feel better and essentially be able to call in what we're desiring. So I think when you can bring that fun aspect of it and being like, yeah, I'm doing this my way in a way that feels good, it feels light, and like in a way I can enjoy it more. I think that's such an incredible thing to bring forward. Um,
Totally. And I've seen it kind of reflected as well. Like I've been through this process myself where healing has been like heavy and serious and like I'm following all the rules and doing all the things and zooming out being like, actually like maybe this doesn't feel better than it felt before. And I've seen that reflected in people around me as well, you know, sometimes witnessing being stuck in this cycle of healing, I'm healing, I'm healing. And when we're sometimes stuck in that cycle, we're never living. So how can we actually be living and be in our radiance, you know, coming back to this podcast title, be in our radiance and be upgrading? Like, how can the two come together?
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I've gone through my own healing journey as well, where like I just felt like I had to be in this like brooding stage almost. You know, you're like I'm like releasing and letting go, and you kind of forget that you're like I can still have fun, like I can still
Yeah.
enjoy and go out and laugh and do all these things, but you almost feel like you're like, but no, like I'm in the depths of my like dark night of the soul, right? But it's like, how can you go through that and experience like the duality of the joy of going through this process, this shedding, this stage to come out on the other side, but also like not make it so serious as well, right? Still have that fun while upgrading as well.
Totally. I've let stuff go in the most gnarly ceremonial ways. And I've also let stuff go on a dance floor.
Yeah,
Like literally shaking and moving and just feeling life flow through me. And I've been like, none of that shit matters anymore. Like, let's just go. Let it go. So, you know, I'm so with you. Like, it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't always have to be the brooding.
it's so true. Where you're talking about the dance, I don't know if you've ever done ecstatic dance.
Mm,
Something like
love ecstatic
absolutely,
dance.
it's amazing. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I've been getting so much into it. I remember the first time I did it, I was in Tenerife, and you know, it was quite. I was sort of just coming into like a lot more of my spirituality then, and people there were like really into it. You know, like they were like on the floor, like growling and moving like animals and like screaming, and I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna dance," and someone was like, you know, like you seem so stiff. And I was like, I was still releasing in my own way, but it was just like, it's like, how can you have fun and do it the way that you want to do it as well? Like, I just, you know, but it's like, I love that you can do it in that way of like expressing it through dance, but then you can also do it like while crying on the floor, like, you know, by yourself in your living room.
Totally, and there's totally spaciousness for both. I was laughing when you were saying like rolling on the floor and growling. I was like, this sounds like my weekend a lot. But I also think, you know, just coming back to that example, like honoring where people are at as well and honoring that everyone's different. Like I know who I'm speaking to with this message is the people who want to bring both parts of themselves together. I am the girl who fucking can live in the jungle with nothing and I love a Chanel handbag. Like that is just I have two parts to me and I am embracing both parts. But you know, at an ecstatic dance like that, how can you let the person who maybe looks stiff to you, you don't know where they are on that journey. Their stiff to you could be there 110% right now. So again, it's letting go of some of the judgments as well that it has to look a certain way or feel a certain way, and just really being like, where are you in your process right now? What does your 100% look like? Or do you know what? You might not even feel like 100% right now. What can 2% look like? What can 3% look like? And that's as well why I want to focus sometimes on like those small shifts to create those huge upgrades.
Yeah, I really agree with that because I think there's so much pressure in the personal development world and the coaching world and the coaching space that it's like you have to make these monumental like steps and changes and actions where yes, I think there is a time and a place for that because if you're not taking, you know, if you're only taking small steps, then sometimes you might not have that effect. But like at some points too, it's like, yeah, like we're all going through shit, right? It's in our lives. And like sometimes you can only take small changes, or you yourself as like a new mom as well. You probably don't have the same capacity as you did before. So some days it might only be this amount, where other days it can be more. So I think it's like when we have so much pressure to have to show up in such big ways, it can actually cause people to like feel not good enough or like they're not doing enough because they're almost being shamed. It can almost feel like they're being shamed for it in a sense. Like I know I've kind of felt that way before. And I was like, even though I felt like I was still doing a lot, I'm like, am I doing enough? Should I be doing
Mhm.
so I think like bringing in that small steps as well and those small upgrades, which essentially, as we know, lead to the bigger changes down the line as well, right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, amazing. I'd love to talk to you about motherhood as well? Because I know since I've known you, that it's been a journey I've seen you go through as well. When I first started working with you and came into your world, you weren't even pregnant yet. So like, I've kind of seen that whole journey and it's been beautiful to watch. So yeah, how's motherhood been for you, especially with business and life and just all around how that's all kind of come together?
Oh, it has been a
Yeah.
wild journey, the most incredible journey I've ever been on. I totally respect it's not a journey that everyone wants to go on, and I think you can have a deeply fulfilled and incredible life without welcoming children into the world. But for me personally, it has been one of the most deeply fulfilling, exciting, expansive things I've ever done. Like, I feel like I literally birthed my new best friend, and like we get to hang out, and it's so much fun, and he brings so much joy. And I really adore the motherhood side of things. And there's a lot that comes with it, you know. I actually probably had a slightly different experience than most people in that my pregnancy was a lot.
Yeah.
And so when I actually gave birth, that was almost having a child was easier. Like that's normally the moment where it hits and it's like, oh shit, like I'm not sleeping and I've got this and this. I was like, I couldn't even walk in one leg. I had issues with my labor and all the rest of it, and I was much happier. So it's definitely been a shedding process. And it's been I would say almost like a game of capacity. You mentioned capacity earlier. I have had to know when to bring it in and focus on what I'm focusing on and just let that be enough. And known when I have the capacity to give a little bit more and expand a little more. And that's seasonal as well, you know. I'm coming up to Leo's nearly a year old. I'm in a season of huge expansion again. Things are getting easier every single day. I'm at where I'm at with that, and I feel like I am in an expansion season. But it's taken a while to be there, and I think we have to be okay with that. Like, I know we covered this in the academy and when you did the certification, but we talk a lot about the different universal spiritual laws and in that, and we talk about the law of rhythms we see in nature everywhere around us. We have winter, spring, summer, autumn. We have the ebb and flow of the tide. We have some women have a menstrual cycle. You know, there's all these, the moon, it goes through cycles. And yeah, I think sometimes as humans, we don't allow ourselves those. We resent them, or we push against them. We don't want to enter a winter. We want to be in perpetual spring and summer. But I
Mm.
think if we can just release the grip and surrender into it, we can recognize there's so many gifts, so much wisdom in those slower seasons, in those more internal seasons. And that's what I went through. I went through a winter and I found it hard to enter a winter because I'd been in the biggest summer of my life beforehand. But I feel like I've come out the other side of it so grateful for the embodied wisdom, for the gifts that it has granted me.
That is amazing. That's such a beautiful way to look at it. And I think the saying that really comes to mind is that like, it's not like why is this happening to me? It's like what's here for me. Really, like
Mhm.
what is the gift in the lesson and like why am I going through this maybe? Um yeah, and I know I've seen some of your journey as well around some of the troubles with your pregnancy. When you say it was like a shedding process, like can you describe that a little bit?
So if you'd asked me before my pregnancy if I was living in alignment, I wouldn't have been able to give you a bigger yes. I
Yeah,
was like, I am living the dream beyond my dream life. Like, I adore my clients. I am so passionate about my work. I love where I'm living. I love where I'm spending my time and my energy. Just everything just felt like a full yes.
yeah.
And yet, going through the process of pregnancy and motherhood, it was illuminated to me that actually there were elements that maybe weren't in full alignment, or they were in alignment, but they weren't speaking to my bigger vision or the vision beyond the vision. And there were actually huge parts of what I wanted to create that I'd been putting off for years. And I'd been like, oh no, well, it's not a priority right now, or, I'll get round to it. And I didn't even realize I was living that way because I was doing so many big yeses in other areas.
Yeah.
Um, but I think there's an element here where you don't realize the excess capacity you have until your capacity becomes limited. And I was probably giving more energy and able to give and give more energy. And then it got to a point where it was like, okay, I can't just give energy. It needs to feed me energy as well. It
Mhm.
has to be this really replenishing and expansive energy exchange. And that had me look at different areas of my life, my business, my relationships, everything in a new light.
Okay, that is such an interesting take on that as well. Because I think, if someone's imagining like, okay, well, if you're already living that like fuck yes life, like the life that you imagined to like, think about a different alternative to that, might not be really comprehensible for so many people. But I think when you are brought into different situations, such as
Mhm.
motherhood, like that really changes your perspective as well. I'm not a mom myself as well, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. But I've know a lot of people who have been in the coaching space who have gone on to motherhood as well. And I know a big fear around that as well sometimes can be, what about my business? What's going to happen to my capacity, my clients, this dream that I'm building? Can I do both? And I know I've spoken with Juliet before as well, who's also a mom, and she really shed some amazing light on that. Like you can do both, and you can. So I'd love to hear your take on that as well, because I know I definitely have some ladies in the audience who would be so would love to hear that also.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd love to share that. But I just want to go back to something you said then about, you're not a mother yourself, but I think we all experience this just through different vehicles. And so I think this can happen even if you don't go through the process of motherhood. It could be a breakup, or it could just be, I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend about the 7-year itch, and apparently the 7-year itch is a real thing. So like in relationships at the 7-year mark, relationships often have issues. And in some cultures, marriage is a 7-year contract that you kind of renew at the 7-year point. And it makes sense. Like, yeah, it makes sense as well. Like all our cells renew in our body every 7 years. So like, yes, this was the vehicle that led to this metamorphosis and this shift for me. But if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I feel like I'm going through that and I'm not pregnant, or I'm not becoming a mum, or, it can happen and it can come through different ways for you. But speaking specifically to motherhood, um, I remember at the time being really worried about what it would do to my business. My clients, the love that I have for my clients is so pure, and I just genuinely want to support them and to see them thrive. And I love the work that I do. And I was very worried about how I was going to manage both those things. Um, and what I would say is it definitely shifts, but it shifts in a good way.
Mm,
And I remember there was one night and I was really feeling that I was going to have to let go of different parts of my business. And when I say have to, I could have kept them going, but it didn't feel aligned to hold on to them. So some people go through this process, they keep their business exactly the same. There's a mantra I was gifted by other mums, which is babies bring abundance, and you get to just like move through that. For me, there was this realignment and there was this process that I couldn't ignore. And I remember there was one night I was lying in bed and I'd actually been feeling a lot of grief around like, oh wow, like I'm letting parts of this go that I never thought I'd let go. And I literally heard this voice, and I know you won't think I'm batshit sharing this, but like I literally heard this voice and it was like, you need to stop doing the small things to do the bigger things. And it was such a wake-up call. So I think motherhood can be an invitation to, instead of shrink the vision so it feels more manageable, make the vision fucking bigger. Because often the bigger vision is actually easier to go after than the smaller vision and where you've been keeping yourself small. So anything is possible in motherhood. It might shift, it might look different. Allow that. Let that be, go through the process, allow that wisdom to come through, and then make the vision even bigger than ever before.
amazing. I like goosebumps like listening to that, because I think so many like I can imagine going through that process of such a change. People are always like, or women would be worried about, okay, well, what's my business going to look like? How do I do both? But when you're actually like showing that permission that you can actually allow it to be bigger, and I think that's so inspiring for so many people. And that actually brought me to something you were talking about before. It was like, what's the vision beyond the vision? And
Mhm.
that is something in manifestation. I think, when we so often we can be so limited in our perceptions of the way we're thinking, right? It's like what so we've been brought up, what we've been seeing, what society's taught us. So it's like we're thinking, okay, I want to manifest, this new job or this amount of money into my life, but we're not thinking big, 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 right? So when you think about the vision beyond the vision, and that was a question that caught me once as well, is like, well, if I've already manifested everything I've wanted to create, what would be the vision then? And I think that is such an incredible, like when you really think about like beyond like what you can even perceive to be possible, like really getting out there, like that's when we can really start to get so creative in what it is we're truly truly desiring.
Mhm.
So I love that you shed light onto that, because it's really, giving that permission to think bigger, like, you can really achieve incredible things in your life as well. And I know you have manifested some amazing, amazing things in your life as well. So I'd love to know, what are some of like the most incredible things that you've manifested into your life along your journey?
Oh gosh. I mean, so many things, it blows my own mind, honestly. Very early on into my journey, I was in a lot of debt. Don't judge me because it wasn't the most sensible decision I've ever made, but it changed my life, so I'm going to honor it. I manifested a trip to the Maldives on a retreat. Um, the person who was running the retreat is now my best friend. And it was on that retreat that I birthed my coaching business as well. And I literally got a check in the mail. I used to think those stories were like not true, where you get checks in the mail. I literally got a tax rebate. I think it's a rebate when they like realize they've charged you too much tax.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
got literally a check in the mail after getting this email about this retreat and being, it was on my vision board. I was like, I really want to go. So that early on was pretty wild. When we lived in Miami, we lived in this apartment. We actually signed the lease on it sight unseen. So we'd it's not, I don't know if that's the phrase either, but basically we hadn't seen it in person. We'd done like
Okay.
a FaceTime video call. And I was sat in my office one day and it was this stunning apartment. We're looking out into the ocean and I look down and I see there's like a pool next door to the building. And it was like an affiliated building, but it was like the not as nice version of the one that we were in. And I share that because I was on my laptop and I had a folder. I can literally see on my laptop now that says vision board. And in that folder, when I'd been trying to manifest our visa and all the rest of it for the US, I'd
Yeah.
been looking at apartments in Miami, and that exact pool was one of the photos I had screenshotted. And I'm literally looking at my laptop and I can see the pool on my laptop, I can see it out my window, and I'm like, this is just fucking wild. Like the universe is wild. I went to Necker Island with Richard Branson. And honestly, Leo, like having a baby was kind of an accidental manifestation, which I probably need to unpick at some point. But I actually we'd gone on a trip to Europe and it was a bit of a last hurrah on reflection, but I didn't realize at the time. I just thought it was this amazing trip. And we were in Ibiza and we went to Esvedra, which is a complete portal. It's highly magnetic. It's got this incredible energy around it. The guy who was taking us was like, I can see that you're all very respectful and spiritual, and I'm actually happy to go a little bit closer to the rock if you'd like to create an offering or you'd like to speak some manifestations to the rock itself. So with our friends and my friend Sahara had just gone and I went and then I went to Jake, oh baby, it's your turn. And Sahara turns around to me, she's like, baby? She went, did you just manifest a baby? And I was like, no, 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 no. I was saying baby to Jake, like, baby, it's your go. And that was the trip I got pregnant. So
Wow.
so I accidentally manifested a baby as well. So there's been some wild, wild manifestations that have occurred for sure.
Oh my gosh, that is wild. That is such a beautiful like memory to have that. And you said it was in the summer. Is that having to
Mhm.
do with Leo being Leo?
No, do you know, Leo is actually Leonidas, so it's a Greek name.
Oh,
Um, and I'm technically Greek Orthodox. My mum's Greek, and I feel a strong connection to that Greek heritage. So you have set names within the Greek Orthodox Church, which are kind of like allowed names. So we wanted to bring in some of that, the kind of Greek heritage there. So full name is actually Leonidas, as a little nod to the Greek side. Whether we'll keep it up for the rest of our kids, I don't know. I'm yet to find a girl's name where I'm like, that could work with. But first one, Greek name, we've ticked that box.
oh, I did not know that. I love that. I didn't know you were Greek. Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
That is such a, it's very like heroic, like Hercules.
Oh, babe.
God.
I mean, that was the lower end of the scale. Like Jake literally wants to call our kids like Zeus. And like he's like I don't know, Titan. I can't even think of them. They were like the wildest names. And I was like, I'm up for a little bit of like warrior energy, but let's bring it down a little bit.
I love it. Love it. It sounds very like, I don't know, it just kind of goes with the whole energy of like the rock and Ibiza as
True.
well. Yeah,
True. Should have called him Esvedra or Ibiza.
what a name,
FIFA baby.
a baby. I love it. Oh my gosh. That is such a beautiful story. Um,
Thank you.
and then to bring it to the other side of manifestation,
Mhm.
because I think there's such a, when so much we hear about manifestation, it's like always like these incredible things coming through. And it's, you don't hear as much around the darker side of what people are kind of going through,
Mhm.
which is also part of manifestation. And that's
Mhm.
like, times are challenging. I know myself, I think it was right around the time we started Crystal Codes. I was going through a very challenging time, and it felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. I was going through a shedding of like questioning things. And I remember going through one of the modules, and it was the trust one, and it was came at the most beautiful, perfect time. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I think that is something that, people are challenged with so often, is when they are going through a challenging time. Because when life is good, when you're in flow, things are manifesting. You're like, I'm on top of the world. Life is amazing.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, where we're talking about the law of rhythm, the duality, we also go through those times where they're more challenging. And it's like, how can you still trust and lean into that abundance is still on its way to you, that things are still working out, or the universe is, conspiring to work in your favor. Where I
Mhm.
think a lot of people, have maybe want to give up, think manifestation doesn't work.
Mhm.
Um, have you gone through something like that yourself? And like, what would your some words of advice be for someone going through something similar to that?
1,000%. And I'm so grateful you asked this question. And I actually weirdly feel like I manifested this question because one of the things I've wanted to talk more about was I went through a moment when early in my pregnancy, and I was like, do I even believe in manifestation anymore? And I'll explain a little bit more why. I find out I'm pregnant, unexpected, um, go through a lot of shock, and turns into happiness. And I very quickly then become very sick, very, very sick. Like can't eat, can't stand properly, like just a lot going on physically. And I turned to my spiritual practices. That is what has supported me throughout the years. It's what's helped me move through depression. It's helped me move through anxiety. I'm going through this very extreme physical experience, and I'm thinking, okay, now's the time to pull on the tools and really, really use them.
Mhm.
What became clear to me very quickly was I couldn't use the tools. So movement wasn't good. Movement made me sick, made me throw up, made me pass out. So I can't use movement. Okay, so can't use movement. Meditation. Meditation was like torture. It was like, how can we just sit in this sheer nausea and sickness and overwhelming feeling of like just horrificness and make it even more intense? That's meditation for me right now. Okay, books. Let's read some inspiring words. Let's something that will get me through this experience. Books make me dizzy. Books make me feel even more nauseous. I literally feel like I've got seasickness looking at the pages, or like travel sickness. Like it feels like everything's moving. Okay, so the books are gone. I'll spare you going through every single thing, but it literally felt like, oh my God. And it makes me emotional even talking about it now, because it was like, oh my God, all these tools that I
Yeah.
use to support me, I can't use. And I really, I really trust in these tools, but right now they're not available. So
Mm.
then I went through a process as well of like, right, okay, I believe in the power of the mind, and there's some incredible studies on placebo effects, and I'm very aware of these. It's literally mind blowing. There's a guy called actually David Hamilton who's written an incredible book all about placebos. I highly recommend. So I'm like, right, I know I trust in the power of my mind to heal and things like this. So then I'm going through this process of trying to lessen the nausea with that. I'm reading spiritual books, and the spiritual books are telling me if you're experiencing nausea, you're rejecting your pregnancy, you're not embracing your pregnancy.
Oh.
And nothing is working. Nothing is working. And the easiest thing, the thing that actually feels best is as much as possible to disassociate from my body, to step out of the physical experience because it's too intense, and where possible, disassociate and just I am in pretty much survival mode. The only things that I would let myself focus on that time was sleep and my clients, and I spread out my client calls. So I had like an hour or two a day. I would show up to that call. I would give 125 million%. Like I'd give more than I could give. And it's really interesting because so much of the feedback at that time was like, these calls were amazing. I was like, good, because that was the only thing. I had this thing I could not, I'm a Capricorn, you can probably tell. I was not going to let my clients down. Um, But then I go back to bed, and I was in it, and that was the only time I'd let myself tap in. I was channeling. The rest of the time it was very like, I just need to be out of this experience. So naturally, at that point, I'm like, well, where does this leave me with manifestation? How
Yeah.
do I feel about manifestation in this process and coming out the other side? And what I realized, I mean, there were so many realizations, was first of all, don't always look for the lesson when you're in the experience. I think sometimes we are so desperate when we're in an experience, being like, what's my lesson? What's my lesson? What's my lesson? We miss the lesson because we're not letting ourselves just be in the experience. So, first of all, just allowing the experience to be and allowing everything that comes up for you without trying to skip and rush to what's the lesson. The lesson will become clear. That's a little bit of trust that needs to come in. Right now, you just need to move through that experience. The second is, we will go through experiences of pure survival in our lives. And that was one of my experiences, but I have clients who have lost partners. I have clients who have lost children, extreme experiences of grief and hurt and pain and loss. And again, you're not going to be in a state of manifesting necessarily when you are going through that. You're probably in a survival state. And the only thing that you're really focusing on is getting yourself through that experience. But what I will say is, if you can let yourself lean into these experiences, if you can let yourself move through it, when you do start to get to the other side, that is when there will be a reveal of, this is why this happened. This is what this is given me. And I think we have to be careful with manifestation as well, though, because, how can you turn around to someone who's lost a child and say this happened for a reason?
Yeah, I totally agree.
You can't. And
Yeah.
I people can disagree with me. I personally think no. Like, you can't turn around and say, hey, this really painful experience to you happened for a reason. I think what you can do, and positive psychology, I love bringing the science into manifestation, talks about this a lot. You can experience post-traumatic growth. So you can grow from an experience, a traumatic experience, and that can expand your life and your capacity in ways that you couldn't have necessarily seen at the time of going through it. And I think that really is, I guess, the collateral beauty, to kind of draw upon the film, that can happen from these things. Don't forget to see the collateral beauty. On the other side, there will be beauty, there will be moments, and there's probably a lot that you're going to draw from that experience that will help you expand and propel forwards, or realign, reshift, reimagine what that future looks like, what that reality can look like for you. And in that way, it can really supercharge your manifestations. So for me, I can look back now and go, well, A, I had this incredible experience of motherhood on the other side of it. B, I really got to meet people in that experience. And as someone who teaches manifestation, know that actually you can be in periods where manifesting isn't a priority.
Mhm.
Manifesting is just like not on the agenda. You're in survival. But also see that these periods do take us into a realignment, that it can lead to growth in ways that we might not expect. I appreciate that was quite an extreme example. I feel like there's also the middle ground of, you're going in the manifestation process and maybe things aren't going your way. So I'll just speak briefly to that. I think in that case, it really is a case of, I always have this image in my head when that's happening, and it's this God, the universe, whatever resonates for you. They're opening doors that we can't see.
Mhm.
Some pathway is being opened up to you. They're putting something in place. They're going to gift you some experiences along the line because it's preparing you for this bigger thing. So when I'm trying to micromanage God, the universe, the greater plan, I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, they know better than I do. What can I control? The thing that I can control is how I'm showing up. I
Yeah.
can show up, what am I experiencing? What am I embodying? I can show up, what are the daily actions that I'm taking? I can bring in all these other elements. And then it is like, got to give it up to God. I've got to lean into trust and know that this is inevitable, but the way that it shows up might not be this micromanaged plan that I have in my mind.
Yeah, I love that reminder. So it's so true. And I love both examples that you used of like being in the thick of it and going through something really traumatic. Because it's true. How can you tell someone who's lost like a loved one or going through something so traumatic or an illness or, that they manifested that or like you can't. I disagree with that as well. I know there are some people who talk about like soul contracts, like if they've
Mhm.
lost a loved one, it's like their mission was to come on earth for this amount of time. You had these soul
Mhm.
contracts before. I think it's a beautiful way to look at it. So it's like, I think different things will resonate with different people as well. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I really think that's such a great reminder if you are going through that survival stage to like allow yourself that time to grieve, allow, not try to force anything or feel like you need to be trying to force positivity or like look for a reason because there's so much energy being dispersed that way when it's like, sometimes you are just in that survival mode where you need to focus on healing first and moving through that. And I do love also the kind of everyday approach to it where, yeah, we go through challenging seasons. And I think one of the best ways that actually gave me a lot of hope because like I was saying, I've gone through periods too where I've sort of doubted manifestation. And then I'm like, I'm coaching on this. And then I'm like, do I feel like a fraud? Like that imposter syndrome's kicked in. And then I'm like, I had to really think about it. And I heard the term like when you're going through a rock bottom, which, I've
Mhm.
had a few times where it's like literally I've like lost a job that day with no notice, nothing, hadn't prepared for it. I was like, what the fuck, trying to
Mhm.
figure things out. And it's like the way it was described was amazing. It was like the universe is asking you to up level, but you're not doing it fast enough. So it's gonna pull the rug out for you and like throw you off the cliff and be like, now's your chance, fly. Like you wanted this, you're not doing anything about it. You're like playing small. So here you go. And it's like, you
So,
know, yeah, or it was like also said about like it's sort of like picture like a surfer who's trying to catch the perfect wave and you keep just trying to force the wave to happen and you keep getting stuck in the undertow, but until you just stop moving, then that perfect wave finally comes and it's like, yeah, I really
I
love.
love this. 100%. Like, I'm a massive believer that if you don't leap, then the universe just gives you a good push.
Yeah,
Like literally throws you off. And I also think like it brings a lot of peace to your life
yeah,
knowing that. Like even today, we had something really big happen in the business. It was like one of the processes that we use, shut our account is boring. It's a big thing that's happened. And I asked some friends for some advice on it, and one of them voice noted to me and said, "Oh, your nervous system must be so thrown off by all of this." And I was like, I'm actually okay. Like, it's annoying. I would rather I didn't have the admin headache of it. But
yeah.
I'm like, okay, there's a plan. There's a reason. Like, there's some reason why we were meant to shift platform and do this, and I'm okay with it because I don't know what the plan is, but like I'm gonna trust that this is happening for a plan I don't know about yet. And it's going to be a good plan because it's a big thing that happened. So like,
Yeah.
and and I think it can bring you that peace in the moment as well, where like not everything has to be a drama. Like you don't have to be completely thrown off by these big things that happen. You can let yourself be, and I actually think it's more rare for us to give ourselves permission to be calm than it is to go into freak out. And if you need to freak out, but like doesn't have to be what happens.
Yeah, I love that approach, and I so agree. It does calm, like it does bring that sense of calmness, and for your nervous system as well. Like after I heard that whole process about the rock bottom, I was kind of like, okay, so rock bottom. When's the next one coming? Means a big up
Yeah.
level. What?
The amount of times this sounds awful, but like I can back it up. But like the amount of times a client has come to me and we're like, so they've put me on redundancy. I'm like, fucking great. I'm
Like,
celebrating you. Like, let's fucking go. Because it's always like, okay, there's an up level. There's like a going into something, there's a stepping into something. And it happens in different ways. We're speaking about losing jobs. It could be long-term relationship ends. It can be there's lots of different ways that this can show up, but there's always this incredible unfolding on the other side.
yeah, definitely. Like I know when I lost my job and wasn't prepared for it, and it was a toxic place I was in as well. I wasn't happy there. But immediately I was like, you know what? Like this is just proof again. I just want to be in my business and like I want to be living my purpose. Like immediately I like launched a podcast, launched a group program, like before I was ready, but it was just kind of the thing. I'm like, well, fine, okay, there's my opportunity. It gives you that like light the fire and it's like use that as fuel to go for it. So yeah, I think
Oh
those.
my God. I'm so sorry. I am so going into like fucking business coaching now, but I feel like that needs to be a core part of your like teaching. Like, I love that. I'm going to take that and use that like in my own life. Oh, there's proof again.
Yeah.
There's my proof again. Like a mantra of like, there's my proof again. Like, how amazing that you have that approach that you could be like, oh, There's my proof again. Like, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So powerful.
Since I started my own business, like, and I've done contract work, I've actually lost like two jobs, and I'd never lost jobs in my life before. And I feel like I've always been like, I want to be full time in business, and the universe like, here you go, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay, we're going with it. So I was like, I guess it's meant to be. But
I
yeah,
love
it's
that.
true. There's that proof, right? Sometimes so we
Mm.
need those reminders.
I love that.
Amazing. I've like loved this conversation so much. It's been such an incredible deep one as well. And Alex, I want to know, like, as we're talking about upgrade season as well, is there something extra you want a little share about that as well? Something that anything that
Yeah,
you
just
have?
come and join us. Come and have a listen. We're also, I say come and join us. It's gonna be super interactive. Like I'm taking dilemmas. We've got a little WhatsApp set up where you can share them with us. So yeah, come and give us a listen wherever it's upgrade season. We're gonna have 2 episodes a week. So Monday is gonna be the upgrade, Friday is gonna be the wind down. And it's gonna be like the best girls chat ever with that's gonna leave you just like feeling so amazing and like vibrating at such an incredible frequency and yeah, all the good stuff. So yeah, come give us a listen, submit your dilemmas. I need some juicy dilemmas. Like I need some girls to like really spill the tea on what they want help with.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Amazing. I'll definitely submit some dilemmas.
Yes, I'm excited.
I feel like, is it going to be like business, life, spirituality, or is it going to be like a mix of everything?
Do you know what I really love about this? Like one, and I mean, I've talked about niching and I do believe in niching. Um, but I really enjoy working with women across all different areas. And you know this, you've been in my program that's technically a business program, and we will go into all sorts of different areas because it's all related.
Uh,
And what I really love about this upgrade season is it's really going to explore the different areas of your life. So we're going to have some episodes that are upgrade your love life, maybe it's upgrade your sex life, but there's also going to be episodes that maybe are upgrading your, you know, CEO mindset or upgrading your health or your well-being, all these different elements. So we're really going to take a 360 perspective to upgrading because it's upgrade season. We got to upgrade all areas of our life.
Amazing. I love that. And it's so needed. Like, business is one thing, but like you need all the other aspects of that. Like you need the mindset to show up in the business, but you need the mindset to show up in your personal life and to handle relationship conflict or like, so many different areas or just to emotional mastery of yourself as well. Because entrepreneurship is hard, right? It's not an easy road to go down. So yeah, we need all of those
100%.
aspects. And I think I love that because, especially as women, in entrepreneurship, it can feel lonely sometimes. Like, you can feel like you're doing it alone. So to have like a place where you can go and just like shoot the shit with your girlfriends and talk about dilemmas and, I think that's so powerful and so needed.
I love that. Shoot the shit with your girlfriends. That's the exact energy I want it to feel like. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
just, but the girlfriends that are going to give you good advice, not the bad advice that like ruins your life more, hopefully.
good advice. What else do they call it? Is, the girls who like knit is like a stitch and bitch.
Mm.
Yeah, shoot.
I love that. But ours will be like cheering the girls on. We're going to be like full cheerleader energy. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun.
That's amazing. And where can any listeners find that?
I mean, hopefully on all podcast platforms. So wherever you normally listen, we should be on there. Yeah. So Apple, Spotify, all the usual ones. But yeah, it should pretty much be on wherever you listen to it.
Okay, amazing. I'll put all the links in the show notes as well, and you can find
Thanks,
Alex
babes.
Instagram as well. So I'll leave that in the show notes. Fun fact as
Awesome.
well, I wanted to share before we jumped off is that you know this, but some listeners might not know. I totally manifested a spot in your mastermind as well, expansion. That was
Mhm.
something that I had been on my vision board for a while after I'd done the codes deal. I was like, I want to get in her mastermind. That is like next on my thing. And then I attended your wealth calibration event in London and then won a spot through doing that as well, which is amazing.
Literally amazing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love this.
And then
I love that as well. Like I just think the better it gets, the better it gets, you know? You get to come to this event and then win exactly what you desire. And that's again is just like another example of it coming to you in a way that you might not expect. You
yeah.
know, if you think, oh, I want to join a mastermind, you're often thinking, okay, well, I need to make sure I earn this much and da 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 and instead you just won the prize. I love that.
Yeah. It's really for that reminder of like being open to things coming to you in different ways, like not set on like it has to be through financial means or it has to be through this. Like it could be being open to so many different possibilities or it's like this or something better. Like I love that saying.
Amazing. I love this.
Ah, amazing. Well, Alex, thank you so much. You've been such a light in my own life and on my own entrepreneurship and manifestation journey as well. And I'm so grateful to have had you on the episode.
Thank you so much for having me. You are honestly just so embodied in your wisdom and such an incredible, incredible leader in this work. And it's been an honor to walk alongside you and a real honor to get some time with you today as well. It's been a real joy.
Been shooting the shit as well.
Shooting the shit, babes.
Our manifestation. Well, thank you so much, Alex. Thank you.
Thank